But anyway, I pay attention to this man, my longtime friend, my good buddy, and the man in blue himself. Let's welcome the one and only Mr. Blue Meanie. What's up, Bri?
Hey, what's up, guys? How you doing?
Good, man. How are you,
Good,
man?
good.
I haven't talked to you in a while.
It's been a while, but just try to stay busy, try to stay sane. Just enjoying life. So I'm nursing a little cold right now, but other than that, everything's just peachy and keen.
Nice. Good for you. Well, it's something that really, if people aren't following Meanie on any social media sites, you wouldn't know this, but you should be. But the one thing that he's always putting out there, and I feel good for you because you come off like a proud papa, and that's your whole involvement in the Monster Factory now.
Yeah, I mean, the Monster Factory, it's come a long way, since its heyday. Excuse me for it was born in '83, and it was a division of Larry Sharp and Nature Boy Buddy Rogers, and it was there during the boom period. But then around the '90s, Larry got sick, and he wasn't able to maintain it as well as he had wanted to.
Right.
And there's like a little bit of a down period. Just like any business, you have a little bit of a down period.
Sure.
And thankfully to the the vision of Danny Cage, he's definitely taking it, because Danny was a student there, and he's been Larry's right-hand man. And he's like, man, well, he started training, and Larry's like, look, man, you know what you're doing, if you want it, it's yours, and he pretty much, gave full reins over to Danny. Danny now owns it. And Danny says, I want to make this school the school I wish I had when I was training here. And, he asked me to come aboard, and, I had no choice but to say yes because, the phenomenal facility he has there with the Paulsboro Wrestling Club. There's, a full set of amateur matches. There's the ring. There's a full weight room, and a lot of passion with the, Danny Cage, myself, Wild Bill Wiles, and QT Marshall from Ring of Honor comes in and trains as well. So, and we're always having seminars there, and trying to bring in fresh minds. I mean, they hear you. It's one thing for them to hear us all the time talk, but bring in some other people to kind of either add a new twist to it or validate, what we've been teaching. So, excuse me, I'm very proud of, the crew we got there. Everybody's involved and willing to learn. And, we have one kid who's down at WWE NXT, and we have another kid getting a tryout later this month. So,
wow,
everything's going great.
It seems like a very like with all the students and the you and Danny and like it's a very like tight family almost.
Right. I mean, every time I talk to Danny, every time I say, "See, man, love you, bro." It's that we are all on the same wavelengths. And we try to keep positive people around. It's
right.
Just, how wrestling can be, and how cynical people can get, and just crap attitudes, and just it's counterproductive. So
sure.
I try to bring the best I can to the school and teach kids not only the right things I did, but the wrong things I did. And the best thing you could do is own up to your mistakes. And right. I made plenty of them. And if I see somebody making a mistake I once made, it's good that I get to stand there and head them off at the pass and say, hey, man, I understand what you're doing here, but you might want to try this or you might want to try that. And, and that's another reason why we do these seminars. There's a lot of places that won't do seminars because they're afraid that somebody's going to come in and expose, their trainers for not knowing what they're talking about. I was talking to Les Thatcher. He's like, I talk to these, all these schools are afraid to bring me in because I might call out the trainers and say, hey, you don't know what you're talking about. We want people to come in, and reinforce what we're saying, or show us something new so we can take a piece of pick their mind and take a piece of what they taught us and take that forward.
Right.
Les Thatcher. I mean, he showed us a couple new drills that we do with our students now. That we were using to help our students get their foot technique down and their conditioning up. So I'm always trying to learn. I'm always trying to keep it positive. Nothing comes out of negativity, and negativity breeds negativity, and that's counterproductive to the learning process.
Very, very true. Now, did you ever picture yourself becoming the teacher instead of the student? I
call us. We had a seminar with Gerald Briscoe once, and I'm very. I like to consider myself the what's his name, record producer, the Rick Rubin of the teachers. Danny's very good at amateur wrestling, and he's Larry. He was Larry Sharp's right hand man, so Larry taught him pretty much everything, psychology wise and all this good stuff. And then you got Bill Wallace, who's a fantastic amateur wrestler. He was in ECW, and he's got a great perspective for like behind the scenes stuff, because he ran a lot of behind the scenes stuff with ECW with sound, lighting, all that stuff. And then me, I'd like to watch what the kids do and say, hey, that, like I said before, that's good what you're doing, but maybe try this next time, or I'll give you an example of something I've done that has worked and got a reaction to where I don't like to be like technical, wrestle by numbers, A, B, spot A, spot B. I just like to go by feel, see where they're already at, and then guide them along. Where Danny and Billy, like I say, if you're going to build a house, you don't start with the roof, you start with the basement, the foundation. And Danny and Billy are good for that base and the foundation with their amateur background, and trying to make it look more like a shoot. And I bring the sports entertainment aspect of it, and not only the stuff in the ring, but the stuff outside the ring, when it comes to, etiquette and stuff like that. And Danny and Bill know etiquette too, but
sure,
we had a kid go down for a tryout at NXT. I was like, hey man, they might say this, and that to you. If they do, say this, and that, because
right.
There's the wrestling game's more than just in the ring. It's behind the scenes, it's politics, it's all that unnecessary stuff that makes it unfun. But I think that's what I bring to the table. As far as being a teacher, I'm doing it for the love of it. People might think I'm crazy, because I don't draw a salary from the Monster Factory. It's basically me just volunteering my time, and you know what? I'm giving back to the business. They gave back to me, and if I'm, and now I'm doing the weight loss thing, and that came about through the Monster Factory, because I said, I can't stand here and tell these kids, hey, you need to get in shape. And I'm over here like looking like Pizza the Hut, I gotta get into shape along with these kids, and I'm in that weight room right next to the kids, lifting the weights and putting the time in the gym and eating the right things and drinking my 2 gallons of water a day, and they're saying, hey, if Meanie can get in shape, maybe I could get in shape too. So if I try to lead by example, so I did I ever think I was going to be a teacher? No, but it's a very, I don't want to say an accident, but it's a happy accident, because I just went there as part of a documentary and wound up falling in love with the place. And they said, hey, you want to come along? And here I am 2 years later.
Wow. So you're actually, if you think about it, teacher / role model.
And that's what you have to be, if I could sit here and just, be like back in my day, and and sit on my couch and talk about. I can sit on my couch and complain about this business all I want, and these kids today, they don't know this or that and that. Or I could go to the Monster Factory and try to help this generation be better for the future.
Right.
I'm getting off my fat ass. I'm getting out there. I'm going to the Monster Factory, and I'm at all the shows and kind of work it with me and Bill and QT and Danny. We kind of run things like a WWE show where we sit by the monitor, we watch the matches, the guys come to the back, we go over their match, we critique it and tell them what was good, what they could have done better, and stuff like that. And we try to run it like it's a TV taping. And
wow.
I couldn't do all that. I couldn't be I hate to say role model, but just I can't do that if I'm just sitting at home complaining about it. So I'm going to the Monster Factory and do it.
Right. Now, you went to Al Snow's school, and being that you grew up in the Philadelphia area, I always wondered, why did you make the choice to go to Al's school over, the Monster Factory? I mean, because you grew up, as part of the Squared Circle fan club and really involved in the independent scene in the Philadelphia area. Yeah.
Al Snow's, it was kind of like a blessing that I didn't go to the Monster Factory, and that's no slight against the Monster Factory. I was raised by a loving, caring mother and a loving, caring, overprotective grandmother. So, had I gone to the Monster Factory, there's a good chance that, I might have been talked out of pursuing my wrestling career just because I know my grandma would have saw, the first set of bruises from hitting the ropes and going, oh, God, you can't do that. You have to quit. Oh, my God. Because growing up asthmatic, I couldn't walk from here to there without an inhaler. So
wow.
This is my first time leaving the nest. This is me moving away to college. And the further and this is no slight against my family, the further I got away from home, the better I had a chance to succeed because
right.
they wouldn't have seen the bruises. They wouldn't have seen me limping. They wouldn't have seen me, icing my back and my knees and my head, the first couple of days and stuff like that. And I mean, trust me, they were very supportive. When I my first 2 months out there at the Al Snow School, I found out my grandfather was passing away from cancer. And whatchamacallit, my grandma said, he's got, your grandfather said, don't come home, do this, pursue your dream, and it sounds counterproductive what I just said, but they did, had my grandma seen, the pain and the bruises I was going through, she might have talked me out of it. But the
right.
fact that I was further away, they said, pursue your dream, do this. We everything's fine at home. Just, do this. And then, the biggest joy I ever got was, sending tapes back home. And my grandma, I'm saying that, my grandfather was showing my matches to, his friends and stuff like that. So, but get back to the Monster Factory question. I mean, I did a couple tryouts at the Monster Factory. One night, I think it was after whatever the WrestleMania in Indiana was. I think it was WrestleMania 9 or WrestleMania 8. The next day, they had a set of tryouts, and the Headbangers actually put me through my tryout. And out of, the 10 guys that tried out, me and 2 other kids got called into the office by Larry. And, we're talked to about, joining, hey, it's this much. Tuition's this much. I guarantee you 1 match, blah, blah, blah. The usual... The talk that Larry gave to potential students,
right?
And I sat there and I thought about it, and an opportunity came up with Al Snow School through a woman named Phyllis Lee. I was corresponding, I was thinking about possibly going to the Malenko School down in Florida, but living expenses down there was astronomical at the time, and Phyllis, who was also, worked with the Malenkos, but also worked with Al Snow, said, well, Al Snow has a school, and it's like a percentage, it's way cheaper than the cost of living in Florida. And plus, he'll get to live in the school. So Al, his school was the 5th and 6th floor of a Masonic temple, where the ring was in his gymnasium, which looked like a miniature version of the Manhattan Center.
Oh, wow.
And there's living quarters. There's a balcony. There's a commons area. There are bedrooms, and I could just live there. And there was on the fourth floor, there's a weight room, a full commercial gym as well. So, I mean, that's for economics. I went out there in blind faith because I had heard of Al,
right?
But I'd never seen Al Snow wrestle. I didn't see Al, but
wow.
I didn't see Al. But I went out there on blind faith, and luckily I made the right decision because he was not only a great trainer, he was a thorough trainer, but he wound up becoming my big brother, and he's somebody I still consider a close friend to this day.
Right. Oh, that's awesome. I didn't realize he had such a setup like that.
Yeah, I mean, it was amazing. It was in Lima, Ohio, where the school was. They said the word Lima stands for Lost in Mid-America because it's really in the middle of nowhere. And I mean, it was kind of a culture shock. You're going to Wendy's and you're standing behind a guy in like bib overalls who just got done plowing a field and stuff, and you're just like, this ain't Atlantic City, but I mean, it was a cool experience. I made new friends out there, and like I said, it was me going to college, and his school was awesome.
Wow.
Like I say, he had the fifth and sixth floors of an old Masonic temple. And the shows were right there in the school, and pretty much it's the closest booking I ever had because it was my bedroom was like right down one of the corridors, So, Al's setup was great, but once he got signed to Smoky Mountain, he was there a little bit. He was there less and less, and then once he signed to the WWE, he's like he couldn't officially put his name on something he couldn't be there for. So.
Right.
He sold it to a gentleman in Canada who now owns Body Slammers Gym. So,
is it still going today with that guy?
Yeah, I believe the guy's name's Wayne Kreiderman, Canadian wrestler, and I believe it's still going. I haven't been in contact with the guy since he bought it and moved on and stuff like that. So I don't know how he runs it, but Al ran it
right
tremendously.
Now, the question I've always wondered is, how did you get turned on to the world of wrestling?
I was 7 years old, 7 or 8, and one day I lived in a small town called Gloucester, which is right across the bridge from Philly, and I had a neighbor friend named Sean, and I was like, "Hey, Sean, you want to come over and watch the Phillies game?" And he's like, "I can't. I'm watching wrestling." And I was like, "What's wrestling?" 8 years old. I'd never heard the term wrestling, pro wrestling, whatever. I was like, "Well, come watch it at my house." So he came over, watched it at my house, and I was hooked. I don't remember the full hour. It was WWF. I don't remember the full hour. But I know the main event was Rick Martel and Tony Garea losing the tag belts to Fuji Saito.
Wow, I remember that.
Which is a hell of an impression. Your first show you ever seen, you see a title change. So
right,
I was like, this is amazing. And I watched it every week. My sister turned the channel, I'd run over and kick her in the leg and put it back on, and I was hooked. And from there, I started buying the After magazines and learning about wrestling from other promotions. And thank God, in 1983, 84, Pro Wrestling USA came on Channel 11 in New York, because we had moved to Atlantic City, so we're getting New York channels.
Right.
So Crockett and them were doing Pro Wrestling USA, and they're trying to get into the New York market. So Pro Wrestling USA was airing on WPIX in Channel 11, which we got in Atlantic City, because Atlantic City got New York channels and Philly channels.
Okay.
So I would wake up, I'd watch WWF on Channel 17, WWF on Channel 29, then I watched WWF again on Channel 9 in New York, then Pro Wrestling USA on Channel 11, and then they would have wrestling on at midnight or one of the New York channels after horse racing or something like that. So I was watching like 5 hours of wrestling every Saturday. And then as I got more sophisticated channel flipping, I would, everybody else is out on the Saturday, hanging out with their friends. I'm in my bedroom like with the old school remote, just changing the channel, constantly look for wrestling. I'd find pro wrestling from Hawaii, and
wow.
I was just a pro wrestling junkie, and just from that one conversation, hey, you want to watch a Phillies game? Hey, I want to watch pro wrestling. What's pro wrestling? And from there it was born. And that's something I said I always wanted to do, and my family was like, oh, that's cute, because of my condition. I was a severe asthmatic, boy in a bubble in the hospital every, twice a year, every year, being in the oxygen tent and, being fed prednisone intravenously and stuff like that. And, and then, the day, I drive off to Alcino School, they're like, oh, I guess he was serious. There's three loves I had in my life, pro wrestling, stand-up comedy, and rock and roll, and somehow they've all been, emerged in my wrestling career because, I got to be a pro wrestler, I got to be a funny pro wrestler, and as far as the rock and roll, my buddies in the Swamp Candles, I got to get them to use my ring music for the BWO, so I got to marry all three of my loves in life. So
that's awesome. Now you mentioned the Apter mags, which when I got when I discovered pro wrestling, I was like 10 years old, and my uncle in South Philly, I would go there and spend weekends like once a month with my cousin, and his father was a wrestling mark to the T. I mean, he totally believed everything was real, and I was like 10 years old, and he'd be watching TBS wrestling on Saturday nights, and I would be walking by the TV and start catching glimpses, and then I saw the Moondogs, and like my life just changed. Like I got hooked.
That's amazing.
And then I started buying the Apter mags, and I remember I would go to school with the mags, and everybody used to make fun of me. Did you have that same thing? Like, did people make fun of you for being a wrestling fan?
I would get heat, from other students, but then I went to Catholic school, so I'm standing there reading the Pro Wrestling Illustrated with a bloody Jimmy Snuka on the cover, and I got so much heat from the nuns at the wrestling school going, I do not want to see you look at this filthy garbage again, and I'm just like, whatever, give me my friggin' magazine back,
that's funny.
But later on in high school, like when in the 90s, I was like the wrestling guy. Everybody knew that was my thing. Everybody knew I loved wrestling. When my senior year, people were signing my yearbook. They're like, "Good luck in the WWF." It was just, and it's kind of cool that when you're younger, you kind of get picked on. Oh, that's not real. Blah, blah, blah. I got heat more from my relatives. I had one cousin that absolutely hated the fact that I loved wrestling, and he would just break my stones about it being fake. I'm like, so what? It gives me joy. Why do you gotta hate on it?
Right.
But towards the end of my high school career. I was over as the wrestling guy because I was reading the Dave Meltzer sheets were like nobody knew about them at that time. So I was reading Meltzer sheets. I was like, I was telling kids things were going to happen. They thought I was like on the inside. They're like, oh man, he knows wrestling, blah blah blah. So it's towards the end of high school, it became like I became like the cool kid because I knew stuff before it would happen and stuff like that. So
I never knew that whole world even existed until I became part of the business.
Well, I had no
idea of the Meltzer sheets or nothing.
I didn't know about that until you have aha moments, or the moment when you find Santa doesn't exist. When like say a relative slips up in front of me and says Santa doesn't exist. But I was at the airport Marriott where everybody hung out to meet the wrestlers, back in the day, And, you know, that's when I first became familiar with, like, Joel Goodhart and their, you know, the Square Circle newsletter. And he just had one sitting there. I was like, oh, what's this? And I start reading it. I was like, wow, this is pretty inside. This is nothing like, you know, the Bill After magazines. And then from there, you know, I subscribed to Meltzer, and I subscribed to Wade Keller's Pro Wrestling Torch and stuff like that. And, you know, that's when I started, yeah, it was cool to read it, but it kind of, you know, took the fun out of watching it, too, because you're reading results for TV tapings, and you're watching it just waiting for the finish, you know.
Right.
Instead of, you know, actually enjoying the match, you're just waiting to see the, you know, the 1, 2, 3, you know, instead of the story. But, whatchamacallit, yeah, that was my aha moment when it came to, you know, the insides and the dirt sheets and stuff like that. You know, I didn't know until Goodhart smartened me up.
Wow. Now, how about you? I mean, you mentioned, like, your cousin will make fun of you and all. Did your family, once you came back to the Philly area and started working in the area, did your family come out and see you wrestle?
The only time my folks ever came to see me was, I think, WWE. Of course, they never came to see me at ECW. They didn't see my indie stuff. As far as they knew, I was just making all this stuff up. Who knows, you know, right? But luckily, you know, I had, you know, ECW was on TV, you know. The first couple of years, you know, I'm in Ohio and training and wrestling, and as far as they know, I was just, you know, screwing off, you know, moving out to Ohio. They could have thought I made the whole thing up, but, you know, when I came back, and I mean, luckily I moved back to Philly from Jersey just in time, you know, when my ECW run started. Right. So they were watching the show on, you know, with me on, you know, Sports Channel, and then Channel 48. But when they actually came to see, well, this is actually a cool story. My grandmom, my aunt, and my uncle, my mom came to see me wrestle at the Wells Fargo Center. Back then it was the First Union Center. Okay. You know, it's had like 80 million names since then. And that was the first time they came to a live event, and it was kind of cool because, you know, they're in the back, and I would bring over guys like Mick Foley and all them to say hi to my grandmom. Had the biggest crush on Mick Foley, and my mom had a crush on Edge, so I'd bring them over so they can mark out and stuff like that. And then, you know, took them to their seats. At the time, I was with the Job Squad, and actually, at that time I was with Goldust. And, you know, Goldust was wrestling The Godfather on the Loop, and they got to see me perform. And after the show, I brought him back to the back, and my uncle, you know, brought the car down, and we're all waiting for him to come down. So, you know how the Wells Fargo Center, there's that ramp that goes down, but there's like an overlook where fans can look down into there, and they can, you know, call the wrestlers. So I'm walking my grandmom and my mom to my uncle's truck, and people go, Meanie. I'm like, I look up and go, nope, give it up for Grandma. And the whole crowd starts going, Grandma. And my grandma turns around with her cane in her hand, and her other hand, she starts giving the wave like the queen, you know, like she's the queen mother, like. And for that moment, you know, my grandma got a pop. You know, she got a little bit of a Road Warrior pop, which is kind of deserving because my family kind of paid the dues along with me. You know, hey Brian, when you go start making money, hey Brian, how long do you really think this is going to last? You know, and you know, when I got sent to the WWE, I said, hey, you know what? Put all the bills in my name. You don't have to worry anymore. So, you know, my grandma and my mom paid dues right alongside with me, you know, and that was like the cool moment that where, you know, I brought my grandma to a show and she got a Road Warrior pop.
That's awesome. That is awesome. Now, when you ended up in ECW, I mean, before you ended up there, did you know of what was going on with ECW, or?
I was a huge fan of ECW before I went there.
Okay.
I used to, you know, watch the Goodhart shows, and when that died, I was like, you know, wrestling went. I remember when Goodhart announced Wrestling Radio was going, folding and all that stuff, and that was like my day. I'd wake up, listen to Goodhart, watch the wrestling shows, and
right
after I got my wrestling fix out of the way, whatever, and then through the Meltzer sheets, they, hey, Todd Gordon, former backer of the Tri-State Wrestling Alliance, was, starting ECW. I was like, oh, that's cool, maybe, whatever. And then one day I'm flipping through, like I said, I'm a junkie, wrestling junkie. I would watch every day. ESPN would have either World Class or Global or, the evolution of those programs.
Right.
And then, like, I'm looking through the TV guide and Eastern Championship Wrestling. So I was like, I watched the first. I watched the first ECW show all the way through to when I left to go to Al Snow's gym in Ohio, and I would schedule my trips back home. I would come back home to visit my family, but I would schedule them around ECW arena shows. So I would come, in on a Monday, hang out, until Friday, check out the Friday ECW show, drive back to Atlantic City, and then drive to the ECW Arena show, and then, like, right after ECW Arena show, I would drive 13 hours back to Ohio, back to train with Al. So, and then when I moved back from, eventually Al said, you've been here. I was at Al's for a good year, and he said,
right.
He's like, it's cool, you're working out here, and, Al was getting me a lot of my bookings. Sabu would use all of Al's students, and Dan Severn would use all of Al's students, and I was working every Thursday in Indianapolis, Indiana for Mike Samples, and Al got me that booking. He's like, I'm getting these bookings, but I think it's time for you to leave the nest, and go back home, start hustling, work on getting your own bookings, and you'll get a feel for what it's like, to actually, get your own work. I was
right.
like, that makes sense. I went back, and I started watching ECW again, and then I started, randomly running into Stevie and Raven on shows. And, we did a show. I did a show in Maryland for Dennis Whipwreck, the namesake for Mikey Whipwreck.
Yep.
And I did a show in the middle of nowhere, West Virginia, in a horse barn, and Stevie and Raven were on that show too. And it was. I'm a strong believer of, like, making your own opportunities, and if you can visualize it and you can feel it, while you're visualizing, you could do it. And I had worked for this promoter in Pittsburgh named Norm Connors, and he was having some shows. I called him. I was like, hey, man, you know what? I know you're having shows. I know they're probably booked already, but you know what? I'm just going to come out and just hang out. No pressure. If you want to use me, fine. If you don't, I'm just coming out to hang out. So I didn't have a car at the time, and I took a Greyhound bus from Philly to Pittsburgh. And I went to his shows, and he threw me a bone the first night and just put me on. And as luck would have it, Stevie and Raven were on that show. So, I went out and I wrestled a horrible match against this guy doing a Batman gimmick. It wasn't like, from me trying to have a bad match. It's just like one of those vets that says, he said to me, before our match, he goes, kid, the more money they pay me, the more bumps I'm going to take, and they really haven't paid me that much. So I was like, I knew I was going to have to fight to have a good match with this dude, because he already told me he wasn't going to bump. So I was like, whatever. So I come to the back, I get changed, and I start watching the rest of the show like any good young kid in this business should do. And,
sure.
I watched Raven's match, and as he's coming back from the match, I was like, oh, good match, Raven. He goes, hey, yeah, good match. Yeah, good moonsault, kid. I was like, oh, he watched my match this time, because I kept running into him and Stevie. And the next day we went to lunch. We both hung out at Norm's house, and we, drank that night. And the next day we went to have lunch at a Chinese restaurant. And he's like, and that's where he pitched the idea for me being Stevie's lackey, because they wanted to have a lackey to a lackey, and
right.
this came from me watching ECW, keeping up on ECW and just visualizing. And it's going to sound weird. There was a couple times where I sat there and just visualized myself doing something with Stevie and Raven, and it wasn't, never thinking that it would actually come to be. But if you could see it and you could just feel it, and if it feels tangible, you can make it happen. And that was the best bus ride I ever took.
Now, what did you think of the Blue Meanie idea? When was it Scotty that came up with the whole Blue Meanie gimmick and idea?
Yeah, I guess Raven had been watching the Yell Submarine Impaired, and somehow I came up in his mind. When he was watching the Blue Meanie character.
That's creepy.
He's like, hey. You know how people pitch an idea. He over pitched the idea because he was like, "Kid, you're gonna love it. You're gonna want to paint your whole body blue, but hey, just do your hair for now." I'm like, am I gonna be in ECW? He's like, you're gonna have to wear a half shirt and Daisy Dukes. I was like, I'll be in ECW, right? He's like, yeah. I was like, all right, well, I'm in. I get to work with Stevie, who's an awesome talent. I get to be mentored by Raven, who's one of the best minds in the business. When they brought up the Blue Meanie character, I was like, it was like that scene in Ghostbusters when what's his name, Ernie Hudson is going in for the job interview, and they're like, they're giving him a lineup of what he's going to have to do in the job. He's like, hey, is there going to be a steady paycheck in this? I'm good. I'm good to go. Not that there was a steady paycheck in ECW.
Yeah, right.
And I'm not making a Paul E. bounce checks jokes. Just like in the beginning, in the wrestling business, you're basically working for free.
Right.
In my first year and a half, 2 years in ECW, I was maybe making $50 to $75 a night. So, but hey, I was in the best company in the world at that point, and I was learning from the best bull at that point, and I didn't care if they painted my whole body purple and called me the Purple Meanie. I didn't give a crap. I just wanted to be there and learn from the best, and I got to do that. So, God bless Scott Levy,
Right.
Yeah, for taking a chance, man. He took a chance.
Yeah, I try to, when people ask me ECW questions, the one thing I always tell people is being part of that locker room. It was literally like going to wrestling school, like class, because you had so much talent around you. And I remember I would just literally sit there next to people and listen to their conversations and listen to what they were doing and how they were coming up with stuff and why this and why that. And it was just such an incredible thing to be part of.
Yeah, and there'd be times where, here's an example. Every year ECW had that annual softball game with the local police. And I drove out there with Raven, and on the way back he's like, look, I'm going to tell you something, but you can't tell anybody. I was like, all right, whatever. He's like, Terry Gordy's coming in tonight. And, I tried not to jump out of my skin because I'm a huge Terry Gordy mark. I was like, really? He's like, tell me about Terry Gordy. I started giving him, his whole, I knew all the Terry Gordy moves, like the Asian spike and all that stuff. He's like, oh, okay. And he tells me, he goes, go in the glove box. I go in the glove box. And I pull out one. He's like, I got a sticky pet tablet in there, the little yellow tablets.
Okay.
And Raven starts dictating to me what he wants to do in the match. And I'm like the court stenographer writing stuff out in little sticky tablets. And as I would get to one, I would hold on, stick it to the dashboard, start writing on the other one. That one would fill up. I go, hold on, stick that one to the thing. And I would have to number them so they're in sequence.
Oh, that's funny.
So we get to the building, and I'm like I'm like a kid, going, oh, it's Christmas. Terry Gordy's here. And, Raven's like, we're in the car, and Raven's like, read it back to me. So I'm reading, all this stuff that's coming out of his head back to him. And just working with Raven like that. And he would have, me, Stevie, Nova run interference during his matches. So I had no choice but to look, pay attention to his match and listen to him call the match and call the psychology and why this happens and why that happens, and it really helped me on my timing as far as know when to interfere and when to powder out and when to be noticeable and when to disappear into the background and stuff like that.
Right.
And like you said, you would sit there and listen to these guys call matches, and getting to listen to Scott Levy, Raven call a match was. I wish any young kid in this business could have that experience.
Yeah. Now, being a person who was a part of ECW in ECW's prime, you actually had two go rounds with it, and somebody who was in the WWE, and I mean I know you were around the country. I don't know if you went. Did you go out of the country at all with them or?
With WWE, I went to Germany and England.
Okay, so somebody who's
in Canada too, which is technically another country, but it's no different than it's different. It's pretty much United States,
right?
With better beer. Yeah.
Was there any place that compared to the ECW arena?
No. And people. Well, I mean, look, I made a lot of money in WWE, and WWE that's where you want to go if you're a professional wrestler. You want to work for the WWE. You want to wrestle Madison Square Garden. You want to be on WrestleMania. But just for pure adrenaline, the ECW arena, with ECW in its hottest period, it compares to nothing else I've ever really done, because it's great to be a part of the WWE, but the pops are not as the pops I was there for. I mean, there was huge pops, but I mean,
right.
ECW, the crowd's right on top of you. I mean, they're right in your face. It's like a mosh pit, and it's instant feedback. Where like say you're at an arena in Chicago, the first couple, the pop goes up. It's like a wave. It starts in one area and goes all the way up to the nosebleeds. Where ECW arena, when they pop all at once, and a lot of this is what I tell a lot of young kids too. Sometimes it's harder working in front of bigger. It's easier. I'm more nervous working in front of less people than huge crowds, just because if you have a crowd that's dispersed, nobody, right. Everybody's afraid to. The crowd's afraid to pop if they're in an area where there's nobody else, because they don't want to be the one guy pop, and they'll get up and go yay, and they're afraid everybody's looking at them, so they'll just sink into their seats. But if you're packed into a place like DCW Arena, which I'm sure broke the fire code many times over, and you're elbow to elbow with the guy next to you, and you both react to the same thing, it's like a keg of dynamite, because everybody's reacting at the same time.
Right.
And it's more of a explosion. Whereas if ECW Arena was empty, people would be less likely to react. So I'm so fortunate and to have been there for those crowds in that time period. And
right.
Now everybody else going through there is only trying to play catch up to what happened in that building during that heyday.
Yeah. And as a matter of fact, that was one of the questions I actually wrote down, was a lot of people have tried to recapture that magic and put together a new ECW, and nobody's really come close to that. And they keep trying to do the same thing over and over, and there's been probably 4 or 5 different promoters that have tried to do this, and it's just why?
Well, if there's anybody who can come close to recreating ECW, it would be Dreamer's House of Hardcore, because Dreamer was Paulie's right hand man, and Dreamer wrote a lot of those shows. So if you're going to get as authentic as ECW as you can without having Paulie book it, it would be any show that Tommy Dreamer produces, because I mean if Paulie was if he was Booker A, if Paulie was Booker number 1, then Dreamer was Booker 1A. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
I mean, he was, Paulie would be putting the show together, and Dreamer would be right next to him going, hey, that's good, but how about we flip this and that and blah, 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 blah. And a lot of guys had input on the show, but nobody was near as influential as Dreamer, because not only was Dreamer there for every show, he was there with, every time, Paulie, put the TVs together as well. So,
right.
I mean, and, a lot of people, there's nothing wrong with running the ECW arena, don't get me wrong. Everybody runs. I mean, ECW, it's like, ECW, that arena itself is wrestling friendly. If you want people to know how to get to your show, you just go, oh, we're running the arena. Everybody knows how to get there.
Right.
It's central to all the, public transportation. And, it really is a great building, a great atmosphere for building, a great building for an atmosphere, I should say. But be your first whoever you are. If you're going to be Joe Schmo Wrestling, be the best Joe Schmo Wrestling you can be. Try not to be, ECW. If you're, Billy Bob's Pro Wrestling, be the best Billy Bob's Pro Wrestling you can be. Don't try to be ECW.
Exactly.
Yeah. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I was going to say, I know when Tommy ran there a few months ago, I read the results, and from reading the results, it had that old ECW feel, and I was popping to myself just reading the results.
Yeah, and I stopped by to say hey to the guys and stuff like that, and I'm a wrestler, but I'm still a fan, so I stuck around and watched the matches, and the show was phenomenal. I mean, it had that feel, and the crowd, went ape when they should have went ape, and they did the Road Warrior. They popped like a Road Warrior pop when you're supposed to hop like a Road Warrior pop, and the heat was right. The heels got the right heat, and it was phenomenal. It's phenomenal, especially your action Alberto Del Rio got alone was phenomenal, and
right.
That was, the cool thing about ECW, any show, like I said, Terry Gordy came on that one show for ECW, and I was maybe one of the 3 people who knew until, the opening chorus of Freebird hit, and the reaction throughout the crowd was just like, in awe,
Right.
And, I had seen Alberto Del Rio in the back, so I went out, like, oh, let me go watch this. And watching him, Rodriguez come out, and then he got in the ring, and then they announced Alberto, and Alberto came out. The place went, the place came unglued. So
yeah,
if anybody's going to run a show that's close as ECW, it's going to be Tommy Dreamer's House of Hardcore.
This is true. Now you said something there that this is something I really wanted to ask you, because you are not only a quote-unquote wrestler or a quote-unquote worker, but you're a fan of pro wrestling.
Yeah.
And, as we all are before we got into the business, we're fans. But when I got into the business, I was taught that you're not a fan no more, that you are in the business, and you can't be a fan no more. But you still have that fan part of you, which it seems like, and I'm going to say you're probably the one, or maybe you're the one I noticed the most, that has brought that bridge together. You know what I mean? Where the worker can be a fan again.
Yeah, you can still be a fan in this business, but you just gotta reel it in. I just learned to reel it in at the right time and not be like, you could be a fan, but don't be like Chris Farley from Saturday Night Live when he's interviewing Paul McCartney. That scene where he's just like, remember that time when you were the Beatles and you did that thing? And Paul McCartney goes, yeah. He goes, that was awesome. you kind of have you can be a fan, but you just curtail it a little bit. I mean, you have to be a fan to put up with half the. Am I allowed to swear on this?
You can say anything you want.
Well, I've been trying to bite my tongue, but you have to be a fan of the wrestling business in order to put up with the bullshit that you have to go through to be in this wrestling business. You know, the lack of pay, the miles you put in, the grief you get from home, and why you're never there, why you're not making as much money, and you know, there's a lot of grief that goes along with this business. But if you're a fan of it and you love it, and this is what you want to do, and this is what you feel you have to do, and this is your vision quest, you know, then there's no other reason to explain why we do what we do. It's not like it tickles. It's not like it's fun. You know, it's not like, you know, we take a bump, go, hee. You know, it hurts. I mean, there's, you know, the best. You know, I always tell the students, I was like, your first bump. I mean, when you take a bump, it's the equivalent of a minor, you know, fender bender. You know, where if you know somebody, you know, taps your bumper with their car, that's a wrestling bump. So I mean, if you're getting in this for the money, you're getting in for the wrong reasons. If you don't love this business to the core, then you're not meant for this business. You have to be a fan. And, you know, I've always been a fan of this business. You know, I've marked out the things in this business, but I've popped on the inside and, you know, been, you know, professional on the outside, you know, stuff like that. Like I told you, you know, Terry Gordy was coming into the ECW locker room, and, you know, I was one of the 3 people who knew it. And, you know, Raven goes out to the ring for his match with Gordy. My first instinct was, I'm going up to the stage and watching this happen. And I'm standing there, and the opening chords of Freebird play. I look at the hair on my arm, and every hair on my arm stood up. I look to my left, and there's Shane Douglas with a big smile on his face, and he puts his arm right next to mine, and we both look at our goosebumps go up. Because we're fans of this business, we get why that moment was such a big moment. You know, and there's nothing wrong with being a fan in this business, but you got to know when to be a professional as well, you know, and do business the right way. You know, don't get suckered because you're, you know, he's a mark, he'll do whatever he say. No, there's a time to be a mark, and there's a time to be a professional, you know, and do business the right way, and you know, do what you have to do, and you know, at the end of the day, you can still be a fan.
Now, being the fan and being the worker, I mean, you were recently honored at the arena where they added you to the Wall of Fame.
Yeah, man, that was awesome. What were you going to say? I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
Did you shed a tear?
Yeah, and I didn't know until maybe a day or two before, and I was told, you know, about it, and you know, it was like so surreal. I mean, you know, people are like, "Oh, you sick mark, you fucking mark," but I was a mark for the fact that, you know, I knew it was happening, and when I went out there, you know, everybody, it was weird. You know, everybody who went into the hall that night knew, you know, had somebody induct them.
Right.
You know, I think Scorpio had Todd Gordon, Shane inducted Gary Wolf, or something like that, and I was the only one. I was like, "Who's inducted me?" They're like, "Just go out there, you know, give your speech, blah blah blah." I was like, "Oh man, I guess I'm the only one who's not having somebody, you know, induct me." So I was like, "Oh, whatever, wing it. I'm a professional." So I get out there, and like my music dies down, and then they hit Al Snow's music, who I had no idea was there.
Oh, that's awesome.
Like, it's insane. And it was, the whole thing was weird because like I was supposed to be in this, I was supposed to be in a 6-man. It was supposed to be me, Cliff Compton, and one other guy against and Little Guido against the Monster Factory students. And the whole time, Cliff Compton's kind of kayfabing me about going over this match. I'm like, man, he really doesn't want to be in this match. Well, it turns out Al was booked to be in the 6-man, and Cliff, who had already had a match, was pretending that, you know, he was working twice on the show, but he was trying to keep the idea for his other match in his head, and I was going over to, hey, let's do this in the match. He says, like, oh, yeah, whatever. And I was like, man, he really doesn't want to be in this match, does he? Which, when, like, I heard Al Snow's music, everything that happened leading up to him, I went, oh, that's why. So you're asking me if I shed a tear. It's like, yeah, when Al Snow, the guy who broke me into the business, went out of his way, because Al wasn't even, you know, advertised for the show, booked on the show until maybe like the week of, and he drove all the way from a booking in New York, which he did an autograph signing that afternoon. He drove 3 hours from New York just to do that, induct me, and then he drove 3 hours back so he can, you know, make his flight for the next day. You know, he made time out of his life to be there for me, and he's the guy who got me into the wrestling business. And then the moment I almost kind of lost my composure was, you know, acknowledging the fact that, you know, I wouldn't have been there without my, you know, my grandparents or my mom. And at that time, my mom is always in the hospital for something. You know, she has COPD, she has you know, spinal stenosis. She has all the laundry list of things wrong. At that time, she was in the hospital, so I went to, you know, give her, you know, acknowledgement, and I almost kind of like I had to, you know, take a pregnant pause and just, you know, bite my lip and clear the lump in my throat, and, you know, just realize, you know, I had to, you know, regain my composure because it was a special night, you know, and, you know, there's people who are like, oh, it's a Mark thing. It's a bullshit. You know, I've seen like one or two people go, oh, it's a bullshit Hall of Fame, whatever. I was like, you know what? The people who own that building, who pay the bills for that building and leased that building out and made that building, they've totally spent countless money to refurbish that building to make it wrestling friendly.
Right.
Thought to take the time out to make a banner that's going to hang in that building forever, and the names that are already on that wall are people I love and respect. So the fact that they thought they considered me, you know, one of the people that they want to put on that wall, it means a lot to me, because they didn't have to do that. They didn't have to think of me. You know, who am I? But you know, through, you know, performing there with ECW, and then I ran there, you know, with 3PW with Todd Gordon. And then, you know, I've been on countless shows since then. You know, I'm kind of like, you know, the neighborhood kid done good. So to be up on that wall in that historic building, and people go, oh, the bingo hall. No, it's a historic wrestling building.
Right.
Means the world to me. You know, I mean, you know, World Class had, you know, their building down there. They had their sportatorium. We had our ECW arena. Both, you know, meant a lot to those who performed there, and both had historic moments. And the fact that, you know, the ECW arena is still standing and they have me on their wall is something I'll always cherish.
Sure. You want to take a call? We got a guy that's been holding for like 15 minutes from Arizona.
Pardon?
We have a caller from Arizona. He's been holding for like 15 minutes. You want to take the question?
Sure, man. It's your show.
All right.
Sweet.
Chad, you're live on the air with the Blue Meanie.
Hey, what's going on, guys? Blue Meanie, I've been a big fan of yours. You're one of my inspirations coming into the business. I just want to say that now. You're one of the guys I looked up to next to Spike and Mikey. I just had two questions that I want to ask you.
Please.
First of all, what's one of your most memorable moments in ECW? Whether it was with Raven's Flock or with the BWO, what's some of your most memorable moments?
I mean, I was very fortunate to have many moments. I mean, you don't get too many firsts in this business. To be on the first ever ECW pay-per-view was awesome. To be in the BWO was awesome. But right off the bat, I would have to say me and Steve Ricks being a part of Mick Foley's farewell before he went to the WWE. You know, the last time he was in the ECW arena, in the ECW ring was with myself and Stevie Richards, and he wanted us to do the Fargo Strut with him leaving the ECW arena. And out of everybody or anybody he could have picked, he picked Stevie Richards and myself. And by him doing so, Nick had included me and Stevie a lot in a lot of his matches prior to him leaving. By him doing that, he in the wrestling business, we say we give somebody a rub. He gave me and Stevie one heck of a rub, because in the fans' eyes, if Mick Foley thought enough of us to be a part of his farewell, then that cemented us as guys who are ECW lifers, or certified ECW crew, So as far as favorite moments, I mean, I have many of them, but that was right up there, and that's a very very special one in my heart.
Oh, I bet that's actually really awesome. I remember that. Another one of my questions is, what's one of your favorite ribs that you played or you saw played?
Ribs?
Yeah.
Off the top of my head, in WWE, I traveled a lot with Al Snow. Him being my mentor and being my friend, and we were in a job squad together, and we traveled a lot together. So we're just finishing the loop of a show, and we're going to the hotel we're going to fly out of the next day and get the shuttle and stuff like that. But Al had the rental car was in his name, so I was going to take the shuttle, he was going to take the car. So I get to my room, I'm unpacking my bag. I go, I left something in the car. I think I left my knee pads in the car. I call down to Al's room. I go, hey, Al, I left my knee pads in the car. Can I come get the keys and just get them? And he's like, sure. So I go down to his room. I get the car keys, and I go in the car, and I get my knee pads. And I was like, for some reason, I looked at the radio on the car, and a light bulb went off in my head. That I turned the car on. I turned the volume of the radio in the car all the way to the max, the loudest you could get the car to go. And I turned the car off real quick. So I go back. I lock the car. I go back. I give Al his keys, and next morning I wake up. I go to the airport. I take my flight home. I didn't even turn my phone on at this point, but I get back. I land. I turn on my phone on my baggage claim. I got a voicemail, and I go to check my voicemail while my baggage claim, and it's Al Snow screaming at me, "Meanie, you son of a bitch!" And meanwhile, and the funny part is, not only did I scare the crap out of him by having the volume that loud when he turned the car, he didn't even bother turning the radio down. He went into a state of shock. He reached into his pocket. He took out his phone. He called my number and called me while the radio was still blaring in the background, just to go, "Meanie, you son of a bitch." And it was like one of the biggest pops. I'm at the baggage claim in Philadelphia laughing hysterically, and people are looking at me like I'm a madman. So off the top of my head, the time I was like, I can imagine him just sitting there like, with his hair like up, to the ceiling because he's just full of fright, So
that's
out of ribs, probably that's the one that I was. The best ribs are the ones that you poke fun, and it doesn't cost the other guy money, or you don't do any damage. So that was like a harmless rib, except for maybe if he peed his pants a little, I don't know. But that's probably off the top of my head one of my favorite ribs I pulled.
And I do have one last question, and it does pertain to wrestling for up and comers in the indie circuits, which I'm one of them. What is the best advice you can give to the up and comers who they're smaller guys or heavier guys, the ones that not everybody thinks a whole lot of? Well, what's your best advice for guys like us to get our names out there, and on top of just having fun and doing it, what's the best advice you can give just to get our names out there and may achieve more bookings?
Just being a coach at the Moss Factory, I always tell our kids, be patient. It's not going to come to you right away. It took me 5 years to go, oh, that's it. Everything, I learned a lot, but then I started fully understanding things. I had an aha moment, maybe 5 years to where I went, oh, okay. Patience, persistence, perseverance. Just be persistent with trying to get bookings. Do your homework on where you're going to look to work and make sure that, it's a reputable place. Make sure, they, see if they have videos online. In this day and age, it might be easier to, see how they are by, see if they have, check out their Facebook, check out their website, see if, who's wrestling for them, and just, get out there and be patient, be patient in the ring. If you feel like you're going too fast, slow down. If you feel like you're going too slow, slow down even more, and just constantly be willing to learn, learn from those who came before you and not those who are at the same level as you, because you can only learn so much from somebody who's on the same level as you. If you're constantly learning from those who came before, who have a little bit more experience, and by experience I mean people who wrestle often. There's a lot of people out there who go, I wrestled 10 years, but they've had 2 matches a year. That I wouldn't go to those guys. But just and if anybody's having a seminar near you, go to a seminar. Try to learn from those, who have been there and done that. And then lastly, just to be the best you that you can be. I mean, it's good to watch WWE and learn from what they do by watching WWE, but what can you do that sets yourself apart from anybody else who walks through and walks into the ring? I mean, if you wrestle like, say, Chris Jericho, well, they don't need Chris Jericho. They already have Chris Jericho. They don't need another Chris Jericho. They already have Chris Jericho. If you wrestle like Rey Mysterio, well, they won't need you because they already have Rey Mysterio. What can you do to set yourself apart from anybody else who will walk down that aisle, step through those ropes, and try to command attention from those people who are putting down their hard-earned money? What can you do to set yourself apart? Whether it's looks or, promo or stuff like that. What can you do that's different? I mean, look at Bray Wyatt. He's the most different thing they've had in forever. Look at Dean Ambrose. He's like a modern day Roddy Piper. But he's nothing that they have right now. He sets himself apart. Be unique. And yeah, while you're trying to, I always tell people, my favorite rock and roll band was Van Halen, but they started out as a cover band, playing other people's music until they found their own groove. Pick and choose from who you like to be until you find your own skin that you feel comfortable in. There's nothing wrong with doing what you see on TV, but don't be blatant at it. Be subtle at it. Take it, make it yours. Take it, borrow it, but make it your own styling and stuff like that, and figure out who you want to be, figure out what sets you apart, and figure out what the best way to get noticed, not only by WWE, but any promotion like Ring of Honor or stuff like that. Just try to set yourself apart, be persistent, and be patient.
There you go.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. I'm taking it. I wrote a lot of that down. I'm taking a lot of that to heart, and I'm going to remember that. And
or you can just download the podcast and play it back.
Well, I am going to do that too. I'm going to kind of mark out here a little bit. It does.
I mean, there's a lot more to it, but in the time I have allotted on this show, that's the best thing I can say off the top of my head.
And it's appreciated coming from somebody I've looked up to in this business.
Oh, well, thank you very much.
And I want to
appreciate
and I do want to thank you for your time and your advice and for answering my questions. And thank you, Nick, for giving me the chance to do that.
My pleasure. And thanks to Bay.
Yeah, thanks for Bay for bringing you on.
Thanks, Chad.
No problem. You guys have a good night.
You too.
Take care and be safe.
Thank you. Thank you.
Now, Meanie, recently you were asked by WWE to be a part of something special, which you've been promoting, and that's the new DVD they're coming out with.
Yeah, I was very fortunate to be asked to host ECW Unreleased Volume 3, which comes out worldwide on DVD and Blu-ray this April. Originally, it was supposed to come out in January, but they figured it'd be a better time to properly, promote it and make sure it's all done right with the right bells and whistles in April. So, and that all can't, like I said, if you can visualize it and it feels tangible, you make your own opportunities. And it came from an idea I had to stop by a WWE show October 7th in Philly. SmackDown was in town on October 7th. I didn't just show up. I went through the proper channels and said, hey, I'd like to come by, see some friends, say hello. They said, sure, come on by. I strictly went there, to say hi to friends because I do have still friends up there. But out of that came an opportunity. JBL asked me if I wanted to be on his internet show on YouTube. I said, absolutely. And they had an idea where, I would just do this phantom run-in and photobomb Heath Slater and Emma. Heath Slater's trying to pick up Emma for a date, and I just walk into the picture, photobomb, do the meanie dance, and run out. And from that, came I went there. I did that. I talked to a couple of the producers. I said, hey, with the network, if you ever need somebody to talk to about ECW stuff, because they have shows like Countdown, they have the Monday Night Wars, they have all these shows. If you never need somebody who was in ECW to talk about ECW, I'm available. I gave them my information. The next day, October 8th at 2 p.m., I got a phone call from a fine gentleman, named Michael at a WWE home video, and they had the idea for me and Stevie to host ECW Unreleased Volume 3. There was Joey Styles had a list of people that he would like to work with, and me showing up and showing my face made him go, hey, Meanie's there, Meanie's around, let's have Meanie. And through that, I got them in touch with Stevie, and November 20th, me and Stevie went up to Stamford, Connecticut, and we filmed ECW Unreleased Volume 3, which will be out on Blu-ray and DVD. In addition to that, we also did a 30-minute special, which is going to air on WWE Network, tentatively scheduled for March. And that's going to help. That'll coincide and help promote the fact that ECW Unreleased Volume 3 comes out in April, and it's just been a blessing. It's been a great opportunity, and again, it's just coming from thinking about it and giving something a shot, and it paid off. So, and through that, I was asked if I would help try to promote the DVD coming up. The guy who produced it, Michael Lathrop. I hope I'm pronouncing his fucking last name right. He's very young. He's very ambitious and eager, and he wants to do this the right way. And he asked me, "Hey, would you be willing to, help promote this, online?" And absolutely. So, every week I've been, well, not every week, but during Raws and SmackDowns and NXT, he's allowed me to release a match, here and there. And this past week I did a thing where I gave out a clue, and the person who gets it correctly, wins a WWE DVD. So I'm being interactive online with WWE and the fan base to help promote the DVD, and it's been a great opportunity afforded to me by them to help promote something that was a great part of my life. Me, Joey, and Stevie hosted the DVD. We had a blast. I just got to see a rough cut of what they're gonna have like a blooper reel for the Blu-ray as a Blu-ray exclusive, and it's still surreal, man. We did this, and it's like until it comes, and it comes out, and I got the copy in my hand, and I'm still pinching myself, And then I got to see a rough copy of the cover. The cover's in blue and white, which is BWO colors, and for a kid who wasn't supposed to be able to, to even, walk, do anything athletic, due to my asthma, here I am as a 41-year-old adult, hosting a DVD for one of the greatest companies I got to work for. Right. So it's been phenomenal.
That's awesome. That is friggin' awesome. Yeah, I when you first announced it, I was like, holy shit, I was so happy for you, man.
You know how wrestling is. I learned like I'm a big Howard Stern fan, and he used to talk about a cartoon he was going to do, Howard Stern high school years, which never came to be. It never came to be, but people keep going, hey Howard, when's that cartoon coming out? 20 years later, people are like, hey Howard, when's that cartoon coming out? So as much as I wanted to, run to the mountaintop and go, hey, I'm hosting this, I couldn't until, it was officially definitely happening, until until I had a train ticket in my hand to go to Stanford, and then film it, I sat on this, and I was just like chomping at the bit to go, hey everybody, look what I'm doing, like Ron Burgundy, hey guys, come see how good I look, like Ron Burgundy and Anchorman, but and it was such a moment of pride to be able to announce that on Facebook and Twitter. I just had to wait for Joey to give me the okay to do it, and then he announced it. I was like, oh, I'm telling everybody. So it's not like WWE needs me, but it's just like cool to be a part of that, the promotional. I mean, they're the biggest company in the world. They can reach millions. But the fact that they want me to help, promote it, it means a lot. It's special. So and the outpouring from the fans who have been supportive of it have been really cool as well.
And also too. Something that started a few weeks ago by a longtime Philadelphia wrestling fan, the man behind the website PWBTS.com, Bob McGee. He's been trying to start this campaign to get you in the Royal Rumble. Yeah, man. And if we can get me and Stevie in the Royal Rumble, that'd be even better. It only makes sense just from the fact it's not me going, hey, Philly's my town. I should be on every show in Philly. But, we just, Stevie and I just filmed ECW Unreleased Volume 3. It's about ECW. ECW's a Philly town. And Royal Rumble's in Philly, which is an ECW town. And what better way to announce, ECW Unreleased Volume 3 is coming out than to have two of the hosts be in the Royal Rumble. So, the hashtag started BWO, hashtag BWO Royal Rumble, it's kind of started picking up. Bob McGee wrote a really great article about it, and I've been pestering all my online followers to repost it. Luckily, nobody's unfollowed me, so I haven't been too annoying about it. I haven't been too annoying about it, but hey, man, and I'm not. This isn't like me thinking I have something. I'm afraid. People are going, why should I do this? He probably already knows he's in the Royal Rumble. Why should I hashtag this? I'm not in the Royal Rumble as of today. I'm not in the Royal Rumble. But if the fans create enough of a buzz and they make their voices known, hey, we'd like to see two Philly ECW guys go into the Royal Rumble to promote ECW Unreleased Volume 3,
then that would be awesome. That's, you know, democracy in motion. You know, that, like they say, make your vote count, make your tweet count. You know, and just say it. At the worst, what did you do? You typed something that took you 30 seconds to type and tweet. You know,
right.
And if you want to do it, do it. If you don't, that's fine too. You know, I had some dude go, "Why should I do it?" I was like, "Well, dude, I'm not putting a gun to your head. You either want to do it or you don't." You know. I don't think I have to sell. I don't think I have to sell it. You know why? You know.
It's too funny. Too funny. Well, we got one more call here for you. I don't know who this is.
Sure.
So my finger's on the button. Who's this?
Hey, Brian, it's Lucky.
Who is it?
Hold on, the phone call.
Lucky, Triple H.
Oh, what's up, man?
What's up, my brother?
Limping ain't easy, brother.
I was gonna tell them the story of how I got my catchphrase because of you.
Good stuff, man. Good stuff. How you doing?
I'm gonna say it was probably about 15 years ago. We were at a local nightclub outside Philly called Brownie's Plymouth, and I was doing my own Godfather gimmick, wearing a hat and having the cane and walking funny, but I was saying, leaving the club, and I said, "Hey, Brian, pimpin' ain't easy." You go, "No, Luck, limpin' ain't easy," and the rest is history.
So I see you sell those T-shirts. I think you owe me a nickel. So.
Hey, I gave you a shirt, brother.
I'm kidding, brother.
I know. Hey, to be honest, when I started in the business about 13 years ago, I didn't even use the catchphrase for a couple years.
Yeah, well, there you go, man.
I mean, I created a monster. Now look at me. I just wanted to say hi, brother, and I miss you.
Me and Lucky go back a long ways. There's a band we used to go see called Bonehead. They got signed and had a little run in the mainstream as Familiar 48, and they were very wrestling friendly. I used to go up on stage with signed guy Lou, and we would sing backup vocals, and every now and then we'd get Devon to come up on stage and sing backup, and
nice.
You know, Lucky was there front row singing, you know, right along with them. You know, you're like a super fan, and then to actually get, you know, do some stuff in wrestling, you know, it's even cooler. Even I still apologize. So one time I did whack Lucky over the head with a cookie sheet. It was kind of stiff.
I begged you to do it.
I totally did the Tom and Jerry to him, you know, where they hit, you know, the cat hits, you know, the mouse, and you see the imprint of the mouse's face on the cookie sheet. I was like, oh, I did, and I immediately went, ooh, he might call the cops.
That was actually you actually hit me stiff because it was an iron cookie sheet. It wasn't aluminum. I was like, whoa. That hurt. I got a tough head.
Well, that's another reason why I'm going to hell. So, I mean, just,
it's okay.
My highway to hell has an easy pass lane. So
there you go.
I just wanted to say hi, my brother, and I missed you. And hey, Nick, I wanted to say hi too, and have a good night, guys.
Thanks. Take care, man. Lucky.
You got it.
Thanks.
See ya.
Well, Nick is there. Meanie's probably like, who the hell's Nick? Nick is my co-host who just hangs back and relaxes. Nick, anything you want to ask Meanie before we let him go?
No, man, you guys are doing a great job. I just let you do your thing and answer the phone.
Oh, too funny.
Well, it's just like in wrestling. It's just like in wrestling, you know. Everybody's an important part of the match, you know, especially like the referees and stuff like that, you know. A referee's doing his job well when you don't notice him. So you're doing your job well, you know, as you know, Nick. You're like the Baba Booey of the organization. So I mean, you're doing your job and good stuff, man. Good stuff.
If I have questions, I shoot them to Bay in our private chat, and he can just keep asking. It's better than trying to interrupt each other and ask questions. You know what I mean? It makes the interview go a lot smoother.
That's awesome. That's a good attitude to have.
He is my Baba Booey. He does so much for me. I can never thank him enough.
Well, dude, these guys are hustling, man. I watch your posts. I see the guests you get, and I'm in awe. Like you said, you popped for my one announcement for me doing this DVD. I pop every time you have like, like I popped. I'm on with Vinny Appice, and I was like, wow.
Right.
I see the guests you get, and I'm like, you go Bay, man. Jeez. I mean, you got something really cool going here. So, man, I'm
Thanks,
happy
man.
for you. I'm proud of you, man. You got a really cool gig going on here.
Trying, having fun doing it. That's the bottom line.
That's the important part. It's fun. It's as long as you're having fun, it's worth doing.
Absolutely. Well, 2 things before we let you go. Number 1, I got to get you to cut me an ID. This is however you want to do it. The Blue Meanie, Brian, you're listening to Totally Driven Radio. You can throw in there whatever the hell you want, spice it up, do your thing.
How do you? Was it Totally Driven Radio or Totally Driven Entertainment?
Do Totally Driven Radio.
Okay. Let me know when you're ready.
Go for it.
Hey, everybody, this is ECW Original. Oh, hold on, let me start over. Beep. I believe.
Now, I'm leaving this in there, but go ahead.
Of course. That's the best part about ECW. We left the screw-ups in. But, okay, let me get my radio voice. Hey, everybody, this is ECW Original and former WWE wrestler, The Blue Meanie. And you're listening to Totally... you're going to leave that in, too, right?
Absolutely.
Hey, everybody, this is former WWE wrestler and ECW Original, The Blue Meanie, and you're listening to Totally Driven Radio. Listen, or I'll come and find you.
Oh, that's awesome. See, now, you will go into our classic Wall of Fame with the screw-ups with, like, Jim Florentine. Here's Jim's.
Hey, this is Jim Florentine from That Metal Show, and you're listening to Total... Wait, let me do it again. We're live, so... Hey, this is Jim Florentine from That Metal Show, and we're listening to Totally Driven Radio. That one up again. Hey, this is Jim Florentine from That Metal Show, and you are listening to Totally Driven Radio. Nice.
It's so funny. Go ahead.
Here's one from Bumblefoot. This is a good one, though.
Hello, this is Ron Bumblefoot Thal, and you are listening to Total Driven Radio.
That was close.
Close.
Yeah. Close. Yeah. Close. Totally Driven Radio.
That's what I said.
You said total. Like now I'm breaking your balls.
Fuck, man. You want me to say it again, just for the hell of it?
Sure, why not?
All right. Hi. Okay, one more time. That was weird. Hey, everybody, this is Ron Bumblefoot Thal, and you are listening to Totally Driven Radio.
See, so now you're in our sound clip Wall of Fame.
That's tremendous, brother. I'm in good company. I'm with the guy who shreds on guitar. I'm in there with a tremendous comedian who not only knows his pro wrestling, but he's hysterical as well. He knows his rock and roll. So I'm in good company.
Absolutely. Brian, thanks so much for this. It's been a lot of fun. Put out all your posts, plug all your stuff right there, your social media, WWE DVD again, do it all.
If you want to find me on Twitter, I have a new Twitter handle. It's at Blue Meanie, BWO on Twitter. If you want to find me on Facebook, it's facebook.com, Heffron, Heffron, my real name. I'm to the limit with people who can, I can add, but you can click the follow button and follow my shenanigans online. If you would like to buy my stylish BWO shirts, you can go to ProWrestlingTees.com/Blue Meanie. Nothing makes me happier than when I get an email alert from Pro Wrestling Tees saying, you've sold a shirt. So if you can hook a meanie up, I would greatly appreciate that. And if you want to become an aspiring pro wrestler, go to monsterfactory.org, where myself, Danny Cage, Wild Bill Wiles from ECW, and QT Marshall from Ring of Honor are some of the coaches, and we have some of the finest wrestling instructors come in to do seminars. We just had Sean Waltman, X-Pac, and we had MVP from TNA, two people who rarely do seminars, but they came to us and they said they're coming back because they like what we do at the Monster Factory. So go to monsterfactory.org and get all our information to become an aspiring pro wrestler. Now, if that wasn't a commercial, you know.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Cool. Bri, it's been too long. We got to hook up and hang out. And actually, you know what I want to do? I want to watch documentaries with you. I love documentaries.
Brother.
And I get so jealous with all these documentaries you're always watching.
Yeah, man. It's just like I can watch a documentary on paint dry and just be totally amazed by it. So, yeah, maybe one night we'll have to get together, have dinner, and a documentary night or something like that.
Cool. Sounds like a plan.
Awesome, brother. Well, thanks for having me. Thanks for having me on your awesome show. Continued success to you, and keep being driven, man. Keep being totally driven. And as corny as that sounds, you're doing a great job, man. Keep doing it.
Thanks, brother. All right, man.
You have a great night.
You too.
Take care, man. Be safe. Thanks, guys. Bye.
All right, everybody, there he goes. The one and only, the Blue Meanie. What a dude. He's the man. Look at that. Yeah,
people think it's so weird that I don't say something. I don't get that. Like, I just think you're the guy. You know what I'm saying? Like, you lead the path, and I just chime in. You know what I'm saying? Like, you do the same thing for me on TV Nation. It's how it's supposed to work.
I guess. Okay.
Robin doesn't step over Howard. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
I'd rather be Robin than Baba Booey.
Look at that. See, I guess it was good that I didn't have a third guest. The third guest didn't come through for tonight because we ended up going 100 minutes with Meanie.
Crazy.
And I still have about
a conversation too.
Yeah, I still have about a half dozen questions I didn't even get to.
Do you really?
Yeah.
Oh wow.
So, all right, let's take a quick commercial break, and we'll come back and